Welcome to Beyond the Book, where we create aha moments for creatives that think they don't have time to read.
Hey, I'm Imed, co host and also a former anti reader.
I'm Matt, co host and former anti reader. We look forward to learning with you and growing together.
This
Is Beyond the Book. Hey everyone, this is Beyond the Book, a podcast dedicated to discussing books surrounding business, design, and productivity. And today I'm joined by my co host, Imed, and we're going to discuss Steal Like an Artist by Austin Kleon.
a very good book.
Yes, yes. How are you doing, Imed?
I'm fine. How about you?
I'm good. I'm snowed in, but that's okay. Why don't we jump right into it? This book, as we showed, is very small. For those listening, the book is only about 100 and maybe 50 pages, but half of those are illustrations. Um, First, let's give some context about Austin Kleon, the author. I have his bio pulled up. He says, I'm a writer who draws. I make art with words and books with pictures. Ahmed, can you just give a little background as to, uh, in reading the book, all the different visuals that appear? These aren't pictures taken with, a nice DSLR camera, but there's a lot of little drawings and doodles and whatnot.
I really like the book because of that, and it keeps you engaged on reading the book so that you can finish it in maybe 1 hour, 2 hours. So you can eat it alive and digest the information right away. So a small book like that, I think that it can change your life in 2 hours maximum.
Yeah, no, most definitely. This is a book that you can finish on a flight, or if you're on a commute, maybe a couple days in your week, right? Reading it on the bus or a train, and you'd be finished. Austin has also he's written a few books. Another one is Show Your Work. I've read that book. Have you read that one as well, Med?
Yeah, I read this one too. Pretty much the same thing. Not the same thing at 100%, but small book. You can eat it alive to 2 hours maximum, and it's more for people who don't like to show their work or how can you show your work and why you should do it. But
Right. With a very just stress-free context. Um, yeah, I mean, his book is really unlike anything I've read before, just in the formatting of it. In school, I'm
Mhm.
used to textbooks and I'm used to just very dense reading. And this is a very action-oriented book. He gets the point across very quickly and then gives a lot of ways to implement. So we're going to go through this book um, in this episode in two parts. First part, we're going to talk about takeaways and just give a brief overview of the book. And then in part two, that's going to be dedicated solely to implementing because on Beyond the Book, we really believe that let's take what we're reading and let's apply it. Because reading for reading's sake, some people like that, but Ahmed and I, we don't because we used to hate reading. So without further ado, Ahmed, can you give the book in 3 sentences, please?
Yes, for me, it was more for choosing three heroes and steal from them. Always journal and list your ideas, and nothing is original. Stealing creatively is the new original.
Yes, I love that. Thank you. Um, so let's start with the first one. Choose three heroes and steal from them. What do you have three heroes as of now that you could list, or maybe one that you steal from often, or every now and again?
Yeah, for me, it's a little bit crazy, out of context, but not that much. But it's a little bit odd. So my hero, for myself, is a basketball player, which is Stephen Curry, and how I steal from him is his discipline and how he changed the game. So what I want to go with that is you're not obligated to have a hero in your own industry. You can get creative and go steal from someone else and put it on your own perspective.
Yeah, no, I really love that. A hero that I steal from fairly often would have to be Christo in the future. Uh, Learned about Chris in the future maybe 9 months ago and have just been consuming content ever since. Got a few courses, but also when I first learned about them, I would recreate different projects that they've done just to see if I could do it. So getting my hands on Adobe XD and going through it and making wireframes following Mr. Ben Burns, um, or some of Chris's older work with typography, like making those posters. Never published them, never plan on doing anything with them. It's just, can I do this? Because these are the people that I admire. Um, our second point, always journal and list ideas. Do you
Hmm.
journal?
Yeah, I do. I started like maybe 6 months ago when I read the book. Like I wasn't doing that on a daily basis, but I was doing it like from time to time. But when I read the book, I took it more seriously because of what it may give to me, more ideas, more inspiration and creativity. So as of now, I'm doing it every day.
Wow.
How about you?
I don't. I don't journal. I know there's 1,000 people who say there's tons of value in journaling. I've tried it. I write too much. So I will, maybe it's the perfectionist in me. I feel like if I have a page, I need to fill that page. So then I'm just writing, and there's no value in that, and it's never anything that I would revisit. Um, I'm open to it. At the end of the book, he showed uh, two two pictures of entries into his journal, and it's very shorthand. He has low illustrations. I think I may do something like that on one of those like little journals you throw in your back pocket. Just kind of discussing what I did that day to keep a record. But yeah, I don't journal. Do you have a process for journaling?
To be honest, like when I in the morning when I get up, shower, and if you have a random thought, showering, I don't know, eating, you can have random thoughts at any given time. So when I do, I put them right away. It can be like an idea for an article, a podcast, or anything. I put it in my journal or my on my phone. If I don't have my journal, I put it in my phone, and after I put it in
Yeah,
my journal.
I like that. I don't know if it maybe it was in Steal Like an Artist. I read somewhere, but talking about the moments that are mundane. I think it was in the book. Doing the dishes, going for a walk, taking a shower. We have moments of inspiration because we're not looking for them.
Exactly.
We're doing something where our hands are busy and our mind is just allowed to rest. We're not being inundated with messages. We don't have emails coming in, phone calls, meetings, whatever. Um, when I have moments like those, instead of journaling, I do make a little audio recording where I'm just talking to myself. I probably sound crazy, but I'll say, oh, so if we did this, then I would have to do X, and then the outcomes would be Y and Z. And I really just kind of go through that because I'm a verbal processor and I talk things through. No, thank you for sharing that. With the idea that nothing is original, stealing creatively is the new original. Talk us through that a little bit because I think this idea of stealing, it's very provocative. And
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
we will say as a disclaimer, if you haven't read the book, he is not suggesting plagiarism. There's a difference between plagiarism and stealing by Austin's definition. Um,
Right.
can you share what that distinction is? And then we can talk about the process.
Yeah, for me, like plagiarism is taking someone's work and just saying that it's yours and without changing anything. So for me, that's a no for sure. But when we say stealing creatively is more that you take from three, four persons some ideas and putting them all together. For me, this is not stealing. This is a new idea that you put together. You did the work because you search for that and you mix them up and you produce a new idea.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's kind of like a collage. where you just take,
Exactly.
pictures from various sources you put together into your own work. And we've seen that it's everywhere. I mean, I think about in street art, you'll see there's inspiration from like Monopoly, but then there's graffiti as well. And then they have like Donald Duck a part of it. Well, it's its own composition when those three pieces are put together, but individually, you would say, oh, well, that's by Hasbro if they make Monopoly. That's from Disney. That's from whoever the other one I gave was. Um, Before reading the book, did you steal other people's their work in the way that Austin describes it, or is this a new concept for you?
It was like, for me, I to be honest, I try to be original all the time, like I don't want to do it like him, I don't want to do it like him. And I was always trying to come up with something new, which is a bad idea. You need to get inspired by someone else, and just copying from start and after, you're gonna get your own voice, your own style. But if you don't copy at first, I don't think that you can develop like some sort of creativity at the
Yeah,
highest level.
no, I totally agree. We were talking off air about this a little bit before I got into the marketing space. I'm a drummer at heart. I've been playing drums since I was 2 years old. I went to college for it. Thought I was going to tour the world playing the drums. Then I made a shift my junior year at college. And when I first started to learn how to play drums, before I had lessons and teachers, I would just put records on and play like the drummer, to the point where I was trying to play exactly like the drummer. So I put on the Beatles and I'm playing like Ringo Starr. And if anyone is musical out there or a drummer, you know that his playing is very simple, but he plays perfect for the Beatles. And then I would listen to Led Zeppelin, and John Bonham was kind of like the father of a lot of more intense drumming, or a style that really showcases the drums. And his style is polar opposite of Ringo, but he plays perfectly for Led Zeppelin. Ringo would not be good with Zeppelin, and Bonham would not be good for the Beatles. So as a kid, when I was doing that, I was really learning how these musicians were playing. And then over time, I put my own stuff on it. So I'd be playing with maybe a pop artist, and I play a John Bonham fill. Um, but I get back to a beat that's more simple, like Ringo. So that idea for me in reading this book, it really translated to the marketing and creative and business space because I've done it before. Can we talk a little bit more about? You said you tried to only have creative or original ideas, and
Yeah.
that's not a good thing. When I heard that, the first thing that popped in my head is that sounds exhausting. Can you
Right.
expand upon like why shouldn't creatives be trying to have that new, brand new thing? Uh, why and why
Yeah,
should they
so
steal?
I understand. So yeah, it's like, for me, I started like designing websites like 10 years ago. And when nobody cares if you copy someone, because everyone was learning. But when I stopped and came back 2 years ago, I learned from scratch again. But like, something changed, there's a lot of pressure on social medias. Everybody is posting his work, and what I was people that I was following have their own styles. And for me, I don't know like which path to take. So I was looking at other people work, and I don't know, I was telling to myself I need to have my own style, but I didn't know how. So I didn't have the idea that I need to copy them from each one of them and make my own ideas. But I was trying to, but at the beginning I did not. And when I read the book and I thought about it, because I draw mangas, I draw everything, and I thought about it, and I was like, at the beginning, when you learn to draw, you copy. You can like you can start drawing and expect to be like the best drawer in. your second day. You need to
Right.
practice and you need to copy, so in
Yeah.
order to become a better artist. And it is the same thing for any creative field, websites, logos, whatever. You need to copy first, and you're gonna develop your own style. That's how. That's my new perspective on that.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I mean, it. I think that's crucial for learning anything because, you know, I think it just with stealing, it just makes sense. Like if there's people out there that are successful doing the thing that I want to do, I want to learn from them. That's how I feel with mentoring and with coaching. There, I have plenty of friends that will never ask for help, will never say when they don't know something, and there's just kind of like this. Some may call it grit or perseverance. I think it's stubbornness to learn because they have to struggle. And I believe that, we all have to struggle in some way. There's always going to be adversity we need to overcome for anything that's really worthwhile in life. But, if I can copy someone and learn their style, why not do that instead of taking all this time and trying to look internally when I may not even have anything uh, that reflects what I want. And I think through copying, it really just opens up the opportunity for us to see all the possibilities out there. Um, let's talk about analysis paralysis because I think that is like one of the biggest reasons why creatives should copy, and we shouldn't be chasing those purely original thoughts. Um, can you give a definition? Doesn't have to be from the Oxford Dictionary or anything, but what
Hmm.
is analysis paralysis?
Like if I give my own example, let's say I was trying to drop ship, and you can learn from anywhere, anything. So there was people saying who were saying that you need to find your own winning products. Don't copy someone else's products because you're gonna, like, I don't know, don't find success. So I had this idea that I need to find my product, and I was stuck in that, like searching for product and never get started. And if I did copy someone who his product was winning, I would have been winning too.
Right.
That's the only way, I think. So
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
try to reinvent the wheel. If
Right.
someone if something is working, just do it.
Yeah. No, totally. And I think with analysis paralysis, it's simply the idea that you are going to stay where you're at because you're trying to consume all the information you can and analyze that in an attempt to form your own brand new original thought. And that will cause you to stay stuck. You'll never show your work. You'll never get started because I think of imposter syndrome, which is something else. That's the idea that like, who am I to offer this service? Who am I to give this advice? Because I don't have X, Y, or Z. Or even if you have that, you feel like I shouldn't be telling people this because I'm a fraud. And that's just like the negative voice that we hear. Um, and with stealing, it relieves the pressure. It's like don't overthink it. Go make your list of people you look up to, your heroes. See what they're doing, and just copy. And it's kind of like a trust the process. Like over time, yeah, you'll have your own original thoughts or more original than when you first started, but you got to start. Do you have anything on imposter syndrome? Is that something that you've dealt with?
I didn't dealt with that because I don't know. All my friends, like, they're not into the creative field. So if they had any question regarding logos, websites, they come up to me. So I felt comfortable sharing my ideas from the beginning. I didn't have this thought of I don't know who I am, so that I can say something to someone. I didn't care much about that. It is more of internal thoughts that I didn't start what I was be supposed to start. It took me like 1 year to launch my portfolio, and I'm glad I did.
That's incredible. It is something that I've dealt with. It's something I deal with. I always kind of feel this like, can you really ask people for this much money for this service? Can you really you know, can you charge this much for a consultation? Are you really worth that? Are you really providing that much value? Like, my age also plays into it. So there's a lot of like, you're 22. Who do you think you are? Because, I work with people that are twice my age. So, and still like an artist, it just kind of pushed that to the side and was like, look, everyone's been where I'm at, where we're at, and just, keep going. Um, all right. So we've covered imposter syndrome, analysis paralysis. Now let's talk about fake it like you make it, or fake it till you make it. What do you think about that?
I think this is like the sentence that someone can like understand like in his own way and say, "Oh my God, no, I can't do that." Like this is dishonesty. I can't afford to do that. But I think is you're not trying to, I don't know, selling something to someone or scam someone, you know? You're trying to prove yourself that you're capable of doing that by faking it, you know? So that at some point you're gonna do it for real. But if you don't do it, you gotta do that for achieving what you're trying to do. That's my thought on that. For me, I didn't do it, but I think that people should do.
Yeah, no, totally. It's something else I believe in. Read a really great book called Think and Grow Rich. Have you read that one?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, that's like before I really got into reading. I read that a year or two ago, and that just really changed my thinking and my paradigm of the world. But there's a point brought up called auto suggestion, which is just the idea that we can talk ourselves out of negative thinking and we can replace thoughts. And similar to fake it till you make it, there's the idea that if you look in the mirror and you say, um, I'm beautiful, and you're someone that lacks self confidence, if you say that enough over time,
Right,
you'll eventually believe it. Now, a caveat. That doesn't mean if you have body dysmorphia or anything with your mental health that is telling you you aren't beautiful, that'll happen. But fake it till you make it, I think, is really a confidence boost that we need in saying, you know what? I can take from these multiple heroes of mine and put it together because I've done it before. I mean, we've all, when we learn how to talk, we listen to everyone speaking around us. We read books, we watch videos, and we put together and
right,
we make our own sentences, right?
right,
So that is something I think every young creative person, young, let's say, in their professional career, has to do in some capacity. Because if not, you'll stay in the imposter syndrome and analysis paralysis stage. Because you're going to say, well, I need more case studies. So I'm doing all this free work. But then you'll have a portfolio with all this free work. But it's like, maybe you could have just gotten there from one, if any, right?
You know, I think that beauty is subjective, right? So if someone is putting out works and you think that is not beautiful, but for him it is, and he don't care. So he is the winner in this situation because you think that his work is not beautiful, but you're not putting your work out there. So how can you know that your work isn't that beautiful that you may think of yourself? You know. So just put it out there and don't judge your
Yeah.
work. Nobody
Oh,
cares
absolutely. Yeah.
actually.
Yeah. And that's something that Chris Do talks about a lot. Try to take your own personal emotions out of the work you produce. When we talk about branding, that's a buzzword today. The whole point of branding is to give an objective point of view. If you're a brand strategist for a company, let's say, and when you have a brand, decisions to implement, let's say, a marketing campaign has to reflect the brand. It doesn't matter if you like this color scheme. If it doesn't fit with the brand and the brand's audience, then throw it away. So when we put our work out there and we don't tie our emotion to it, it makes when receiving feedback or critique so much easier because it's not like, oh, I'm a horrible designer and no one likes my stuff. It's just, oh, well, yeah, maybe there are pieces to this that could be improved. And sometimes you just got to push it out and just, you know. be careful with who you allow to affect your self-talk and to affect the way that you process things. It doesn't need to be, it shouldn't be everyone, because that is exhausting.
I think that is 100% true.
Well, in wrapping up this first part of the episode, why don't we just talk about general book observations? We don't need to do any cheesy like rating system, but is there anything you would like to leave the audience with, Imed, on just getting through the book? Anything that jumped out at you?
For me, it was a life changing book because of the book, I started my blog and I started writing. So it is part of the reason we met together on Twitter, right? So if I didn't do it, we wouldn't be here today. So I think that for me, you just need to get rid of the create my own thing, being unique, or I don't know. If I had to rewrite the book myself, I will make more example with basketball, with sports, that anyone is, copying everyone moves and putting them together so that you can be a better player, right? And nobody is blaming them. They're more praising them. Oh my God, he copied Stephen Curry. He copied Clay Thompson, and he put the move together, and now he's torching people. So I think that it is the same thing.
Sure. Yeah, if I rewrote it, I'd probably have more music examples because there isn't an athletic bone in my body. Um, yeah, in thinking about it, I started posting and getting active on Twitter because of show your work. Just the idea of like do it. And I started by, using Twitter kind of be like my journal for reading, just putting a couple thoughts what I read that day. And that's how you and I met, was
Exactly.
through Twitter. So no, it's cool. I didn't think about that way. Yeah, wouldn't be having this conversation with you if I didn't show my
Yeah.
work, put it into
How
practice.
amazing.
Yeah, gotta love the internet. I think this is a good place to stop for part one. We will be speaking later about part two, and that is all implementation. So, whether you have read Steal Like an Artist or not, you'll be able to take multiple takeaways. We'll get tons of examples on how to actually incorporate this into your life.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this conversation and would like to support the podcast, please leave a review on your favorite platform.
For show notes and previous episodes, visit our website, btbpodcast.net. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.